one? And I said, no! Jeepers, I just finished this one. I killed myself on it. I worked round the clock. Give me a break. He did not. He said, do you know what's going on in the Congo right now? And I said, yeah, kind of. He said, Ryan, his assistant is Ryan. Ryan, bring Don that packet we got from John Prendergast on the Congo. It's like, I don't get a second break between my shows. And Ryan brought in the packet, and I did know that there's an epidemic of rape. It's used as a weapon of war there. It's untenable, it's unthinkable, it's at a scale that is really just unfathomable. So he's pitching this to me, and I said, wait, stop. I'll read the research. I'm not committing to doing the story, but I'll read the research. I said, okay, read it, let me know what you think. So I did. Which brings me to the focus of this panel. So talk about obstacles you faced in bringing the issue or story you wanted to the small screen. So obviously, pitching it to my boss was not an obstacle. He's the one who pitched the issue to me. And NBC wasn't an obstacle. We never have, if they ever do have a problem with the show that we do, we never hear about it. Neil fights those battles for us. He keeps us completely insulated, which I do hear that we have a rare situation in Hollywood. There's people usually have to fight the network tooth and nail, but Neil keeps us completely insulated so we can write the story we want to write without fear of censorship or interference. So, you'd think I had nothing to talk about because I had no obstacles, which is the point of this panel. But no. I had the biggest obstacle that any writer faces, which was myself. You can't imagine the reasons I came up with why I absolutely could not write this story. I started with, back in that initial meeting, I actually piped in once I realized what he was talking about and said, oh yes, I know everything about that. I know all about it. I had seen a play this past summer called Ruined. And if you ever get a chance to see it, please do. It won the Pulitzer Prize for 2009. It's written by Lynn Nottage, and it's about rape in the Congo. And it was devastating. I saw a matinee. I was there to shoot an episode of SVU. I saw a matinee on a Saturday or Sunday, and I walked out into the sunshine sobbing. I walked down 48th Street sobbing. And at that point, it really was an issue. It was completely unaware of. But it's my first objection. Well, the play exists. It's brilliant. I can't possibly top it. Neil counters that with, but people, our audience, you'll be speaking to an entirely different audience. There are millions of people who will never see that play who are going to see your episode. Okay, I have no defense of that, but I come back with, but I saw it. It was brilliant. It said everything. I can't plagiarize it. I said, of course not. Just read the research. You'll find your own story. So I did. I go back to the research. Piles of research. And I read, and I read, and I read. My episode wasn't due to prep till January last month, so I had plenty of time. This was the beginning of November. And I keep reading, looking for the way into the story. I go all through November, every day reading about rape in the Congo. Into December, I'm still reading about rape in the Congo. Neil gave me a very worthy subject matter, but not the story itself. You had to find a way to organically incorporate this really important information into our show. So, about every 2 weeks, I go into Neil's office and say, I can't do it. I cannot crack this story. And he'd say, okay, if you don't think so. And just the disappointment in his face, ugh, you have to see it to understand it. I say, okay, I'll read a little more. So I'm back to my office, I read more research, and the more I read, the more it affected me. And I have to say I became pretty consumed with it. I've been researching sex crimes for 11 years, and I built up this thick protective layer because otherwise I'd be in a straitjacket. I thought I'd read every possible horror against humanity there was to commit. what's going on in the Congo is beyond anything I'd ever imagined, let alone read. The Democratic Republic of Congo, formerly Zaire, in case you're not up on your geography, is the rape capital of the world. Google it, you'll get about 43,000 hits. There'll be a few bids for South Africa, but pretty much the undisputed rape capital of the world is the Congo. And as Neil originally told me, it's being used there as an instrument of war. Soldiers, militia groups are just raping any woman they come across. And it's justified because they're at war. It's a tactic to break the spirit of villages and communities, to destroy family relationships. Rape is such a taboo there that when a woman is raped, she's rejected by her husband. She's often rejected from her family and her entire village. So now I'm hooked. You think, okay, I'm going to find the story, but I can't. I just keep reading more and more research. But I can't find the way to incorporate it into an SVU. I go back to Neil. I said, yes, it's very worthy, but our jurisdiction is Manhattan. If a crime happens in Brooklyn, we can't cover it. So the Congo is really, really out of our jurisdiction. Am I not speaking to the microphone? Sorry. Not our jurisdiction. He said, keep reading the research, you'll find a way. Find a way. So I continued to read about how women who go into the forest to collect firewood to cook meals for their families are routinely raped by soldiers passing through there. If they don't go collect firewood, their family starves. If they don't go to collect the wood, it doesn't matter. They come into their houses. They kill the men. They rape the women in front of their children. Then they rape the children in front of the mother. They gang rape them. They take the younger girls with them to their rebel camps, where they're kept as sex slaves. Some of them are forced into marriage. And that was one of the hardest things to fathom. It's like, you're raping them. Why do you need the legitimacy of marrying them? It's just yet another way of breaking their spirit, because they will never be accepted into their old community because they have married into the rival tribe, into the people they're at war against. And this just perpetuates. Men from one village, this happens to their mother, their sister, they join a rival militia, they go out and they rape their women. It's just this unbearable cycle of violence. So, I could go on and on and on about the atrocities in the Congo, but it gets beyond brutal. In the refugee camps, when we talk about global health issues, a doctor there reported to, I think, a medical journal here, the number of fistulas he encountered. If you're not familiar with fistulas, it's when the rape is so violent, because some of them don't just gang rape the women, they rape them with knives and guns. Some groups have perfected the art of shooting the gun so that the woman isn't killed, but she's ruined, which is pretty much the point of the play I'd seen. Ruined for life. It's even the ones who are brought to the U.S., many of them can't be repaired. They're incontinent for life. I watched a very disturbing documentary, but you should all see, called The Greatest Silence, Rape in the Congo. It was on HBO last year. It won an award at Sundance 2 years ago. And a rape victim from Washington, D.C. went to the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and she interviewed rape victims. And she interviewed rapists, which I had never seen before in all my years. And these were the good guys. These weren't the soldiers from the rival militia group, some of whom are the FDLRs, made up of the people responsible for the genocide in Rwanda. After that was finished, they fled into the Congo, where they're now raping at will. But these are the good guys. The guys from the Congolese army are raping, and those are the ones that she got on film, and they can completely rationalize it. It's their patriotic duty. It will bring them good luck in battle. And it's just really, really untenable. I'm going to skip ahead I've read so much research by now, and I really could go on for much too long. I'm sure I've used up my time already, but you'd think I'd find a way to incorporate this into an episode, because what's going on there is the ultimate sex crime. But it's the beginning of January, and I still haven't broken the story. I keep researching. I read about conflict minerals. I don't know, some of you know about them. It's tin, tantalum, and tungsten. And they're used for the semiconductors in every cell phone and every computer, and 80% of the world's resources are in the eastern Congo. Multinational corporations buy them up. They make their way back here into each and every one of our computers and cell phones, and the profits from these, from the people of southern Congo, fund the groups who are using mass rape as a strategy to, oftentimes, just to intimidate the local population into clearing the area from the mines so that they can take over. So we're all unwittingly funding rape in the Congo, which is, and very few people know this, which is why this is an issue that, okay, of course we have to address this in our show. So eventually I did. I did crack the story. I did find a way to organically incorporate it, because I firmly believe that as many people as possible need to be made aware, as I was, that it's not my jurisdiction is a really lame excuse.
Well, you answered so many of my questions already, Dawn. That was.
We'll just continue. I think there's more than enough time.
No, that's amazing. But I wanted to ask you, is this an issue you would have gotten involved in had it not been for Neil? Because one of the things we've been talking about this morning is that many writers in Hollywood haven't been to developing countries. Mm-hmm. They don't have exposure. Neil has. And so your team of writers has exposure, possibly through Neil and through Hollywood Health and Society to these topics. I'm thinking about the challenges in writing about global health. Would it be helpful to you as writers to be invited on a field trip?
Yes.
To a developing country?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's very good to know. Thank you. That was great.
Call me anytime.
Okay. Which on the list?
Sandra, is that a field trip to Africa?
Africa and possibly India. Okay. Okay. Bali is lower on the list. Sorry, Arvind. Okay, let's move to Dr. Zoanne Clack, Grey's Anatomy. And we're going to see a clip.
I've had a twinge in my back for a while. I thought it would go away, but then last night my legs went numb. This morning my back, the pain is just too much.
Ms. Chu, we're going to push on a PCA pump, maybe some morphine, which should help control the pain.
Thank you.
Okay. But there's a greater problem here. I'm just taking a look at your MRI.
Anna! Why didn't you call us before coming down here?
Sorry. These are my parents.
Right.
What's going on?
I was just about to explain that Anna's MRI has shown that she has a myxopapillary pneumoma. It's a tumor in her spinal canal. But the good news is that we can operate. You have a 95% chance of fully recovering if we get you in this surgery as soon as possible. We can't wait another moment. With a tumor this aggressive, even waiting another day puts you at risk for permanent paralysis.
Father?
No. No surgery.
Mr. Chu, without surgery, Anna will be paralyzed probably within the next 24 hours.
There'll be no surgery today. We're taking her home.
Anna needs the surgery.
And she can have it at another time.
Look, Mr. Chu,
We are taking our daughter home.
Anna, you're over 18. You don't need your father's consent.
I'm Meng and my father is the elder. If he says I go home, I go home.